Today we're going to talk about misconceptions in computer buying. Should I get the solid state drive or should I get the hard drive? Well, let's find out. I've been getting a lot of questions from people lately asking if they should be getting the solid state drive or a hard drive in their computer. A lot of people seem to equate storage, the amount of storage in a computer, with how fast a computer is going to perform. And I'm here to tell you that the more storage you have does not make your computer faster. But there's a lot of options available on the market right now for computers, so let's dive in a little bit to figure out what's the best way to go. Computers come with a few different flavors these days. They either have full solid state storage, that comes in either a SATA thing or something called an NVMe solid state drive. There's also conventional hard drives. There's a combination of the two where they might give you an NVMe solid state drive and then a hard drive, where they give you the hard drive to put all of your big and heavy files, and then they keep the solid state drive for all of the system files and applications. Then there's of course the fusion drive setups where they kind of merge the two together, where you've got like a small solid state drive and then a big hard drive where you get sort of the best of both worlds. Although I'm not really convinced that that's the case, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So which computer should you buy? Ideally, if you can swing it, you should get the computer that has the full solid state storage. Most people these days don't use a whole lot of space regardless, and you're always going to get the best performance out of a full solid state drive. Now let's talk storage numbers for a moment. The average user that uses, let's say, a bit of internet, a bit of email, and maybe a couple of applications here and there is going to be fine with 128 gigs. Now, if you're somebody that puts on a little bit of music, a little bit of photos, you have a lot of applications, then you'll want to go to 256 gigabytes, which is kind of becoming the gold standard nowadays anyway. But then, of course, if you're somebody that has a lot of pictures and a lot of media, you might want to go with a 512. And then those that are into heavy video editing or RAWs or this kind of thing might want a 1 terabyte in order to have sort of a scratch disk and have just sort of that extra sort of safety net of space just in case. So really what it boils down to is you should get the solid state drive that you can afford. Why might somebody want to get a solid state drive combo with a hard drive? Well, the answer is simple. Solid state drives, even though they have come down in price quite a bit in the last several years, they're still more expensive than conventional hard disks. For example, kind of apples to oranges, you can get solid state storage 1 terabyte for about, maybe $250 thereabouts, whereas a 1 terabyte hard drive is like $40 at best these days. So what manufacturers will do is they'll put a 256 gig solid state drive and then pair that with a 1 terabyte drive that you can kind of expand into if necessary. It works for some people, but I don't love it because, having that hard drive in there, there's always the question of reliability. It's taking up more power. It's just kind of sitting there doing its thing and unnecessarily. And the fact is that hard drives are 30-year-old technology, so there's not really a reason to have them in a computer in the first place. Which then leads me into my problem with fusion drives. So fusion drive is the name given by Apple for their particular hybrid setup, but basically what they do is they take a small 128 gig solid state drive and pair that with either a 1 or 2 terabyte conventional hard drive, and they merge the two together in such a way that any kind of majorly accessed files like system files, OS stuff, this kind of thing, applications, are going to be accessed on the solid state drive, but then all of your media, pictures, documents, this kind of stuff is going to exist on the conventional hard disk. And they merge them into sort of a seamless thing that does all that kind of chunking in the background, so you don't have to do it. It kind of does it for you. And while that does make things very easy and seamless for most users, you still have the problem, once again, with reliability. Hard drives are just not that reliable. If the hard drive portion of that fusion setup goes bad, well then you're replacing the whole thing and you've of course lost your data. So I don't really care for the fusion drive setups, and push comes to shove, I'd probably even rather just have a regular solid state drive with an expandable hard drive in there. But what I think I may even recommend to most people is to just simply get the solid state drive size that you can afford, be that either a 256, 512, whatever it is. And then worst case scenario, if you need to sort of upgrade in the future, you can either get a USB-C external drive, which are very, very fast, or you could always upgrade the solid state drive in the future. So let's say if you get a 256 gig NVMe solid state drive, you can then get a 1 terabyte NVMe later down the road if necessary. And in a couple of years, that storage is going to be even cheaper and cheaper.